everyone. I am here to present to you a sample output of one of my grade 11 students in quarter 4. I am Ara A. Reyes from Justice Emilio Angeles Gancayco Memorial High School of Orion District. I am one of the authors and also the content editor of this IPT. Again, I would like to acknowledge the development team behind this integrative performance test. The acronym GRASP stands for Goal, Role, Audience, Situation, Product, and Standard. Let me present to you our GRASPs. Goal. Your goal is to create a comic strip and upload it in your Facebook account. The comic strip should contain information about the strong typhoon that is about to enter the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR and how readers must prepare to protect themselves from flood and possible storm surge. For the role, you are a cartoonist or a comic strip creator. Audience, people in your community or general public. Situation. A strong typhoon is expected to enter the Philippine Area of Responsibility or PAR, and you want to disseminate information on how to be protected from flood and possible storm surge through a comic strip. You may rearrange the sequence of the performance outputs to come up with a story in your comics. The number of panels is also indicated to serve as your guide. Product, comic strip with number of panels indicated in the table guide. For standard or criteria for success, we have here the rubrics for creating this integrative performance task. We have the criteria points. Number 1, application of skill or competence for 5 points. Number 2, demonstrated knowledge, again for 5 points. Number 3, creativity, 5 points. And number 4, relevance, 5 points for a total of 20 points. We have here the rubric that will serve as a guide for the teacher and the student. There are 9 subjects that are integrated in this final output. This output was submitted by May Cristel H. Dagohoy of grade 11 STEM Rutherford. I will read first the competency and the performance output for each subject. Let's start with reading and writing skills. Determine textual evidence to validate assertions and counterclaims made about a text read. For the performance output, 2 panels in the comics showing a weather forecast using textual evidence. Here is the output for reading and writing skills. One Monday evening in the residence of Ponzalan family, Typhoon Haineku is still gaining strength outside the Philippine Area of Responsibility, with sustained winds up to 175 kilometers per hour. Haineku will be named Rudy once it enters the PAR on Wednesday morning. According to Pag-asa, if it reaches the 215 kilometers per hour, then we can address it as a super typhoon. It is expected to make landfall over the Samar Leyte provinces by Thursday between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Basic calculus. Solve situational problems involving exponential growth and decay. An illustration in the comics showing an example of real-life application of exponential growth or decay is evident in the history, prevention, or protection from any potential hydrometeorological hazards. This is a performance output for basic calculus. The government is currently making preparations for the people to prepare them from the possible effects of the typhoon, because according to the law of exponential growth, the number of population in families affected by disasters such as typhoon increases every year. Disaster readiness and risk reduction. Recognize signs of impending hydrometeorological hazards. 3 panels in the comic strip showing a family on how they formulate an emergency preparedness plan to guide them on what to do before, during, and after the occurrence of events like typhoons. Here is the performance output for disaster readiness and risk reduction. Dad, look at this. There's another storm coming. We need to prepare for it.
Okay, son, let's make a plan later.
After a few minutes later, so here's the plan. First, we need to prepare an emergency kit. There, we will put food, water, and other necessary things before typhoon. So, what are we going to do after the storm, Dad?
After the storm, we must keep away from structures with damages like power lines and fallen trees. Before returning home, we need to wait for authorities to announce if it is safe to go back now. During the storm, we will stay in our house or evacuation center. Also, we will turn off utilities like water and electricity.
General Biology 1. Differentiate aerobic from anaerobic respiration. Two panels in the comics showing the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration and how it can be used in the different activities as preparation for a strong typhoon. This is the performance output for general biology. While preparing for an emergency survival kit, Dad, can I ask you a question?
Sure, what do you want to ask me, my son?
While packing these things, I just got curious on how water is formed during cellular respiration and why it is important to all living things, including us humans.
Because in cellular respiration, water becomes one of the end product of aerobic respiration. It is important to all living things because water allows everything inside cells to have the right shape at the molecular level.
How about the biscuits? Since it is made from yeast, how is yeast formed during cellular respiration?
Yeast is formed by fermentation. It is a chemical process by which molecules such as glucose are broken down anaerobically.
Para sa pagbasa at pagsusuri ng iba't ibang teksto tungo sa pananaliksik, nabibigyang kahulugan ang mga konseptong kaugnay ng pananaliksik. Halimbawa, balangkas konseptual, balangkas theoretical, datos empirikal, at iba pa. Kahulugan ng mga konseptong may kaugnayan sa pananaliksik sa pamamagitan ng dalawang panel sa comic strip hinggil sa paparating na bagyo at kung paano ito mapaghahandaan. Para sa pagbasa at pagsusuri ng iba't ibang teksto tungo sa pananaliksik. Pagkatapos maghanda ng mag-ama ay bumaba sila upang maghapunan. Ano-ano naman po ang konseptong maaaring mapuo tungkol sa paghahanda sa bagyo? Ang mga konsepto sa paraan ng paghahanda sa paparating na bagyo ay ang mga impormasyon, kagamitan at lugar. Inay, maaari ka bang magbigay ng theoretical na balangkas tungkol sa paghahanda sa paparating na bagyo? Oo naman anak, at isa sa mga theoretical na maaaring gamitin sa mga pagtatangka na harapin ang mga pag-uugali na nagbabawas ng panganib ng mga natural na sakuna ay ang protection motivation theory. Itay, kung datos empirical naman, paano mo po ilalarawan ang mga nakaraang bagyo tulad ng Yolanda?
Ayon sa pag-asa, ang bagyong Yolanda ang isa sa pinakamalakas na bagyong nakarating sa Pilipinas. Naapektuhan nito ang 1,437,251 pamilya.
For physical education and health, observe personal safety protocol to avoid dehydration, overexertion, hypothermia, and hyperthermia during MVPA or moderate vigorous physical activity participation. Two panels in the comics showing appropriate clothes during cold weather. This is a performance output for physical education and health.
Honey, I'll put the heavy equipment up in our garage later, so it won't be hit by the flood. What should I wear?
I think you should wear your jacket, honey, so that you do not get cold, especially this rainy season, to avoid hypothermia. Practical Research 1 plans data collection, data gathering, instrument, and analysis. Two panels in the comics showing a story on how a rescuer or respondents are planning in data collection, data gathering, and data analysis before, during, and after the typhoon. Here's a performance output for Practical Research 1. Meanwhile, staffs, rescuers, and reporters gather the meeting for the upcoming storm. So here's the plan. As we gather information from the people regarding the typhoon, we will use interview as a data gathering instrument through reporters then. We will analyze data collected before, during, and after the typhoon. We'll do our best to serve our community. We all agree with you. Statistics and probability draws conclusion about the population mean based on the test statistic value and the rejection region. An illustration in the comics showing an example of real-life application where conclusion about the population mean is evident in the history, prevention, or protection from any potential hydrometeorological hazards. Here is the performance output for statistics and probability. Thursday came and it started to rain heavily.
Son, can you please turn on the radio?
Okay, Dad. It seems like the storm has already arrived. Because of the government preparedness, the mean population of families affected by disasters decreased as we compare it to the previous year's mean population. 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. Compare and contrast the various 21st century literary genres and their elements, structures, and traditions from across the globe. Two panels in the comics showing a story of how Filipinos survived devastating typhoons. Here's a performance output for 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. The storm continued to intensify and they were brought to the evacuation center. Dad and Mom, we're safe here.
Yes, son. Thanks to the rescuers who brought us in this evacuation center.
I remember 10 years ago, we also survived a devastating typhoon. We went to the evacuation area before the typhoon made its landfall. We have here the options on the submission of output. For option number 1, students may upload their IPTs in the Google Drive link that you will provide for them. They may also take a photo of each page of their comics and send it to your email address or Facebook Messenger. For option number 2, the parent or guardian of the student may bring the IPT in the school and submit it to the class advisor. That would be all. Thank you so much and God bless us all.